Welcome in. It's another weekend of European soccer action taking place this week. After a busy week of Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League games as well, this weekend I've scoured the schedules across the Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, and Serie A, and come up with a ton of games to break down. 15 games in total, split into 4 different parlays for this weekend's soccer predictions, picks, and parlays. Before you bet this weekend, check out signupexpert.com/shred-the-spread. That link is in the comments of this video. You can find great offers for free bonus money for new customers at books like Bet365, FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM, and many more. If you find this content helpful in the video, be sure to hit that like button in the video. Share your thoughts for this weekend's games in the comments as well. It all helps out with the YouTube algorithm to help get this video to more people and help spread the word of the channel. So let's look for parlay number 1 here. We're going to go to Friday and Saturday in the Premier League. We'll start with Leicester City and Nottingham Forest. It's a very short turnaround here for Forest. They just played on Monday versus Palace and they won 1-0. Meanwhile, Leicester played Saturday and they went to Southampton and won 3-2. They continued a trend that sees goals in Leicester games. In their 8 Premier League games so far, they've scored in all 8. They've also conceded in 7 of 8, and the both teams' scores hit in 7 of those 8. The both teams scoring over 2.5, also 5 and 3. Certainly that could be an option here, but it is short rest for Nottingham. I'm just going to ask Leicester to score that first leg of a 3-legger here. Now we're moving to Saturday, Aston Villa and Bournemouth. Villa played Bologna in the Champions League on Tuesday. They won 2-0. Overall, Villa has been on fire on all fronts this season. In all competitions, they're 9-2-1, with their only loss coming to Arsenal. Oddly, the only 2 games in that time where they didn't score were home games, a place they've scored in 47 of 50 games in all competitions, going back over many different matches and well into last season as well. Bournemouth are coming off a huge shutout win over Arsenal last weekend, 2-0, but in all competitions, they have only 3 wins in 9 games this season. That was the only game they've kept a clean sheet this year as well. Last season, they drew 2-2 in Bournemouth, and Villa won 3-1 at home when these teams last met. Home teams have gone 4-1-0. It's undefeated, and home teams have scored multiple goals in each of the past 5 meetings as well. Got to back Villa if you're looking for a winner here, but there's also short rest involved. I'm just going to ask Villa to score. Villa over 0.5 goals. And then final leg of parlay number 1, Man City and Southampton. City played Sparta Prague in the Champions League, and they ran wild for a 5-0 win. Meanwhile, Southampton are one of 4 teams still winless in the Prem right now at 0, 1, and 7. They've been outscored 18-6 in those games, putting them only above Wolves in 19th. They finally found some offense last week where they got 2 goals, but they still managed to lose at home to Leicester 3-2. Southampton did beat City in the League Cup 2-0 at home in 2023, but other recent scores between these teams have been 4-1, 4-0, and 4-1 City. Anything other than a convincing City win here would be shocking. In all competitions this season, they're 10-3-0. They've won their last 4 games by a combined margin of 14-3 as well. Southampton have given up the 2nd highest XGA, the 3rd most shots, the 4th most shots on target. So working in some sort of shot props for City overall for certain players could bump up this price if you wanted to. So too would be asking City to score 3 or maybe 4 goals, but they did just come off some Champions League action. So we'll just ask Man City to win and score over 1.5 goals, with Villa to score, Leicester to score. That's minus 130 odds. Parlay number 2, again on Friday, we'll start off and then go into Saturday, and it's in Italy's Serie A. On Friday, we've got Torino and Como. Friday afternoon Serie A matchup between these teams could be an under-the-radar exciting game. Both teams have seen games that average among the highest scoring games in Italy right now, at 3.5 goals per game for Torino and 3.3 for Como. Torino are 9th, and they can score, scoring 14, but they've also given up 14, allowed the 2nd highest XGA, and have lost 3 straight, all by 3-2 scores. Add in a 3-2 win prior to those losses, and 3-2 score lines have hit in 4 straight Torino games right now when looking at Serie A. They also lost the Coppa Italia match 2-1, so they've now lost 4 straight overall. In 10 games in all competitions, they've scored in 9, conceded in 7. Como may be 14th, but they're only 2 points back of Torino here, and they are the team in better form at 2-1 in their last 5, only losing to Napoli in that time. In 9 overall games, Como have scored in 7 of 9, conceded in 9 of 9. The both teams score 7-2. There's been plenty of goals at both ends of late in their games, with score lines of 1-1, 3-1, 3-2, 3-2, and 2-2. Both teams have been more overs than unders this season. Looking at the over 2.5, if you lower that to over 1.5, Como is 7-1, Torino 6-2. Definitely a strong case for both teams to score in this game or even more simply, just over 1.5 goals. Napoli and Lecce into Saturday. No need to overcomplicate this. Napoli are 6-1-1 in their first. They've conceded just 5 goals. That's tied in second defensively behind just the 1 goal that Juve has allowed. Lecce is way down in 19th, 1-2-5. They've been outscored 18-3, and those 3 goals for are the fewest in Serie A. They give up the second most shots on target. They should be in for a long day here versus the leaders. Lecce have been shut out in 4 straight road Serie A games. They have 2 road wins in the league in 23 games going back into last season. And those wins come against Sassuolo and Salernitana last year. 2 teams no longer even in the league. Let's go Napoli to win on the money line. One more leg, Atalanta and Verona. Atalanta let me down Wednesday, failing to score versus Celtic in a 0-0 Champions League draw. I thought they could get some goals there, but they did not. But in Serie A, their games have produced goals, 3.9 to be exact on average, and that's the highest average in the league. They've scored the most goals, they have the highest XG, the second most shots and shots on target, and they have the league's top scorer in Retucci. For Verona's games, also see plenty of goals, 3.4, that's the third highest. Both teams have gone a perfect 8-0 to over 1.5 totals. Atalanta is 6-2 to over 2.5. Verona is 7-1. Adia, a little bit inconsistent at times this season, but they have now not lost in 5 games and have lost just once in 8. A game versus Verona could be a chance to extend that streak as well, as Verona has just 1 win in 5 games, and it came against Venezia 2-1. They let in a goal there, and generally the C's part defensively in their games with 3-0, 3-2, 3-2, and 2-1 losses as well of late. This should be an Atalanta win. They are coming off midweek play. We'll just ask for over 1.5 goals in this game to bring us up to even money. Atalanta, Verona over 1.5. Torino, Como over 1.5. Napoli to win at plus 101 odds. Let's go into parlay number 3 now. And it's a 3-gamer in Germany's Bundesliga, all on Saturday, starting with Augsburg and Dortmund. The 18 goals conceded by Augsburg is only fewer than the 21 given up by Holstein Kiel. They've conceded in all 7 games, but also scored in 5 of 7. The both teams to score is 5-2, over 1.5 is 7-0, and over 2.5 is also 7-0. In fact, even the over 3.5 has gone 6-1. Dortmund just met Real Madrid in the Champions League. That was a finals rematch. They played on Tuesday, and despite an early 2-0 lead, things got ugly quickly, and they went on to lose 5-2. Dortmund on the season in all competitions have scored in 10 of 11, but the back door has been open as they've conceded in 8 of 11 and in each of their past 6. Perhaps it's both teams to score. I don't know if I trust Augsburg. We'll just ask Dortmund to get 1 goal here. Dortmund to score. Next up, Stuttgart and Holstein Kiel. Kiel may not be last in the table right now, but they are 17th, second from bottom, just 1 point better off than Bochum. They do own the worst goal differential of -12, being outscored 21-9. A shaky back line is not a recipe for success here against Stuttgart, who have scored 15 goals in their 7 Bundesliga games, but who've also given up plenty, allowing 15 as well. Stuttgart's defensive woes ended, though, on Tuesday as they shut out Juventus and scored versus one of the top defenses in Europe, winning that game 1-0. In 12 games in all competitions, Stuttgart has only 2 shutouts, and the other came versus a lower-tier side, but offensively they've scored in 11 of their 12 games, only failing to do so against Bayern Munich. However, Stuttgart hasn't scored more than 1 goal now in any of their last 4 games. I think that changes here versus a Kiel team who have given up 2 or more goals now in 7 straight. We'll go Stuttgart over 1.5 goals. You could get better value by itself if you ask Kiel to score, which is certainly a possibility. But for this parlay, Stuttgart over 1.5. And finally, Werder Bremen versus Werder Leverkusen. Werder hasn't been bad on offense. They've scored in 4 of 7 and 8 goals overall, but they have been shut out versus the better teams like Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and Freiburg. Certainly, Leverkusen would qualify for a team of that caliber. Defense has been an issue, though. They've given up a goal in 6 of 7 and multiple goals in 4 of 7. Much like last season, Leverkusen has been near unbeatable. They're 8-3-1 in all competitions. They've scored in every single game. In the Bundesliga, they've lost just 1 of their last 38 if we go back in to last year. They did draw away to Brest, though, in the Europa League on Wednesday, which will be a letdown for them. And they have allowed a goal now in 5 of 6, and they've even given up 2 to Holstein Kiel. In recent meetings, it's been all Leverkusen when these teams have met. They won 5-0, 3-0, and 3-2 recently. They're undefeated in 8 as well, 4-4-0. Leverkusen could easily score 2 goals on their own here, something they've done in 10 of 11 Bundesliga matches. They do, like many teams, come in off of short rest and could be without their top scorer, Victor Boniface, who was in a car accident last weekend. So let's just ask there to be over 1.5 total goals in this game. Bremen and Leverkusen over 1.5, paired with Stuttgart to score at least 2 themselves, Dortmund to score -114. We'll continue on to the next parlay, and remember, all these parlay picks will be summarized at the end of the video in a graphic, just in case you want to see the final summary in a graphic form as well. So parlay number 4, we've got La Liga action as well as EPL. We'll do 3 games here. Valladolid versus Villarreal in the early game in Spain. Valladolid got a win last round, 3-2 on the road to Alaves, but that's just their second win, and they're sitting in 18th in the table. Despite scoring 3 last game, they still have only 8 goals for on the year, conceding multiple goals. There's nothing new, as the 21 goals they've given up are the most in La Liga. They've now given up multiple goals in 4 straight, and their last win prior to last week was way back in week 1. Villarreal has cooled off a bit with just 2 wins in 5, but their 2 losses came versus Barca and Real Madrid, so no shame there. They're still 4th overall, scoring and conceding 18 goals, making their games the second highest scoring games in La Liga at 3.6 goals per game. Villarreal scored in 9 of 10, only failing versus Real Madrid. They have conceded in 10 of 10, and the both teams to score, naturally, 9-1, with both teams scoring over 2.5, also being 7-3. I would expect the Villarreal win. I certainly would expect them to score. Go Villarreal over 0.5 goals. And then the biggest game this weekend in Europe, clearly El Clasico between first Barcelona and second Real Madrid, separated by just 3 points. Madrid have the slightly better defense, giving up only 7 goals compared to Barca's 10, but it's Barcelona who have been scoring for fun with 33 goals. That's a whole 12 more than Madrid's 21. Last season, Madrid took all 3 games, winning 2-1 and 3-2 in La Liga and 4-1 in the Super Cup. There's been 3 or more goals in each of the last 5 meetings, plus 2 friendlies as well, and 3 or more goals in 7 of 8 competitive games. Both teams are coming off huge Champions League wins midweek. Madrid beating Dortmund 5-2 with Vinicius Jr. hat-trick, and Barcelona beating Bayern Munich 4-1 with them getting Rafinha getting a hat-trick of his own as well. I can easily see a goal, probably more, coming from both of these teams. Both teams are missing their starting keepers. Barca are the team probably in a bit better form right now. Madrid, though, have not lost at home over 40 games going back to April 8th, 2023. This should be a goal fest. Both teams score over 2.5 for leg number 2. Now, with just those 2 games, we're looking at odds around -114. Certainly, it's decent, but let's throw in one more selection to get us just over the even money. Something very simple here, because we want the El Clasico to still be live in this parlay when we get to it. So we'll look to Brighton versus Wolves. Let's look for something simple, and let's look no further than finding a way to bet against the EPL's worst team in Wolves. Wolves did hang on to the very end last week before losing 2-1 to Man City, but that game was at home, and they are still winless in the EPL at 0-1-7, and they've been outscored 23-10. Wolves still have just 1 win in 10 across all competitions, and that was back in August in the League Cup versus Burnley. That's also the only time they've kept a clean sheet, while also giving up multiple goals now in 6 straight, plus 2 or more in 10 of their last 11 EPL games. The Seagulls are up in 5th. They've won back-to-back games, and still, in 10 games in all competitions, have only lost 1 time. That was 4-2 away to Chelsea, and they've only failed to score 1 time this season, and that was 6 games back. Last year, the scores between these teams were mostly lower scoring. Brighton, though, did win 4-1 in EPL on the road, but then there was a 0-0 draw at Brighton, and Wolves won 1-0 at home in the FA Cup. This season, we just saw 5 goals between them, though, last month, with Brighton winning at home 3-2 in the League Cup. Both teams have a ton of injuries, with Brighton's top scorer, Danny Welbeck, being one of them. Still, they have 7 other players who have found the back of the net as well this season, and I would think at least one of them can get on the score sheet at least once this weekend. I'll just ask Brighton to score, to add that to the Villarreal to score, and Madrid and Barcelona, both teams to score, and over 2.5 to get us to plus 107 odds in that parlay. Now let's get into one more parlay. This one will include all Sunday games. If you want even more soccer picks, be sure to check out the community section of this channel, the members only section, where I share a few more members only picks throughout every week in written form. So next parlay, 3 Sunday games. We'll go to Germany and Spain, Bochum and Bayern Munich. Anything other than a big Bayern win here would be a shock. Bayern obviously first. They've scored the most goals of 24 in just 7 games. Bochum sit at the bottom of the pile, 18th, still winless, 0-1-6, and they've allowed the 3rd most goals with 17. Bayern have not always had it their way against Bochum. Bochum won at home 4-2 in 2022, and they won at home 3-2 in the last meeting last season. The three scores between, though, were 7-0, 3-0, and 7-0 for Bayern. Now, having lost their last trip to Bochum, they'll be fully focused here, which is bad news for Bochum, who are a much worse team this season than in years past. Bayern just got blown out 4-1 versus Barcelona on Wednesday in the Champions League, so they should be looking for a big bounce back here. Bayern to win and to score at least 2 goals is leg one of the parlay. Certainly, if they got 3 or 4, that would not be shocking either. Leg number 2, Heidenheim and Hoffenheim. It's 9th Heidenheim hosting 14th Hoffenheim. Both just played on Thursday, so there could be some tired legs here. Hoffenheim in the Europa League, where they lost 2-0 away to Porto. Heidenheim in the Conference League, where they won away 1-0 to Paphos. All 7 of Hoffenheim's games have seen 2 or more goals this season in the Bundesliga, and all 7 have seen both teams to score, while 6 of 7 Heidenheim's games have also seen 2 or more. This could easily be a both team to score or simply over 1.5. And finally, one more game, Real Betis and Atletico Madrid. On Sunday, it's 6th Betis hosting 3rd Atletico Madrid. Both are among the top defenses in the league here, with Betis giving up only 9 goals and Atletico just 6. Atleti have also yet to lose a game. They're 5-5-0. Both have been under teams this year. Atletico games averaging 2.2 goals per game, being 6-4 to under 2.5. Betis games are averaging 1.9 goals per game, and they're 7-3 to the under 2.5. If you bump that up to 3.5, Betis has gone a perfect 10-0 to the under. Atleti 8-2. This week, Atletico played Lille in the Champions League on Wednesday, and they lost 3-1. That's the second Madrid team to be taken down by Lille in the Champions League. And Betis played in the Conference League Thursday, and they drew Copenhagen 1-1. Betis is usually a strong home team. Madrid is not as strong away from home, but they're still undefeated on the year. And versus Betis in their last 10 meetings, they're a perfect 8-2-0. There's not been also, if we look at totals wise, there's not been more than 3 goals in any of the past 4 meetings between these teams, and only one time only once has there ever been over 3 in any of the past 16 meetings. So let's bump this total up to 3.5 and go hit and bet the under. So Betis and Atleti under 3.5, over 1.5 between Heidenheim and Hoffenheim, and then Bayern Munich to win and score over 1.5. Coming in at minus 136 odds. Not a huge payout, but does look like a very reasonable chance of winning. So that will wrap up my 5 different parlays across the EPL picks, Bundesliga picks, La Liga picks, and Serie A picks for this weekend. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Are there other games that you're betting? Whatever it is you're betting, share your bets down there in the comments, and good luck with all your picks this weekend.